Welcome to the world of crypto. It's a high-stakes, high-speed game where fortunes are made and lost in the blink of an eye. You know the feeling. Every single click can feel like a life-altering decision.
But what if I told you that the market itself, the flash crashes, the insane pumps, isn't actually the biggest threat to your money? What if the most dangerous, most unpredictable variable in this whole equation is you? You don't have to take my word for it. Listen to this retail trader. The real money isn't lost to the market, it's lost to a lack of discipline. The greatest danger isn't the chaos out there. It's the predictable, emotional, all too human flaws in here. Okay, let's dive into this.
First things first, we've got to understand that when you're trading crypto, you're not just fighting the charts. You are fighting a psychological war. That's right. Your number one opponent isn't some billionaire whale trying to manipulate the price, and it's not a sudden market crash. It's your own mind. It's driven by these powerful, ancient impulses that, let's be honest, are just terrible at making financial decisions. And here's the thing about this internal battle. It's not random. Not at all. It plays out in these predictable, repeating cycles of pure market emotion. And trust me, once you see the pattern, you will never be able to unsee it. It always starts with hope and a little optimism as the early folks get in. But then comes euphoria. The media's screaming about it, prices are going vertical, and suddenly your cousin is a crypto genius. Now pay attention here, because this is crucial. This moment of maximum excitement is also the point of maximum financial risk. And what follows euphoria? Inevitably, panic. The bubble bursts. And finally, capitulation. That's when all hope is lost and people sell everything at the absolute bottom, right before the whole cycle starts all over again. I mean, just think back to the insane Bitcoin bull run of 2017. Social media, the news. It created this absolute tidal wave of hype. Millions of new investors came flooding in right at the peak, buying into that euphoria, only to get completely wiped out when the market corrected. It was a perfect textbook example of this emotional cycle in action. So what's actually powering these wild emotional swings? Well, the answer lies in something called cognitive biases. Think of them like predictable mental glitches. They're literally hardwired into our brains, and they completely distort rational thinking. And first up is the big one, FOMO, the fear of missing out. Oh, we've all felt it. It's that gut-wrenching anxiety you get when a coin is surging, that little voice screaming, "Buy now before you miss the rocket ship." This is the raw fuel for the euphoria stage. And FOMO has a very powerful partner in crime, herd mentality. When we see a crowd rushing towards something, our deepest instinct is to just follow along, not to stop and ask why. In crypto, that crowd is Twitter, Reddit, Telegram, places where hype can create this massive echo chamber of totally irrational confidence. And check this out. This quote shows you exactly what that looks like in the wild. This trader is reacting to a rumor they saw on a forum, and that little bit of information is creating this shared wave of anxiety. It's the herd in motion, plain and simple. Now, let's look at the flip side of the cycle. This is where loss aversion comes in. Here's the deal. Psychologically, the pain of losing $100 feels about twice as bad as the pleasure of gaining $100. This powerful bias is what drives the panic phase, causing us to sell at the absolute worst time just to make the pain stop. Listen to this trader describing that exact feeling. A forced sell would have locked in a devastating loss, but they held on, and it recovered. Loss aversion is screaming at you, "Sell! Stop the bleeding!" But your logical plan often says to wait. And this is the point. A paper loss only becomes a real loss when you act on that fear. And finally, we have to talk about overconfidence bias. You know the feeling. You hit a few winning trades, and suddenly you feel like a genius. You feel invincible. This bias is what leads us to take on way too much risk, making sloppy trades because we start to believe we just can't lose. Okay, so if our minds are basically rigged against us, how in the world do we fight back? Well, it's not about trying to crush your emotions. It's about having a system. It's time to build your mental armor. And this right here is maybe the single most important idea to grasp. You can't just tell yourself to be disciplined when you're in a state of sheer panic or euphoria. It doesn't work. The logical part of your brain is effectively offline. You need a process, a tool to bring it back. And this is that tool. Let's walk through it. First, recognition. Just notice the shift. Is your heart racing? Stomach in a knot? That's it. That's the trigger. Second, interruption. Stop. Just stop. Step away from the screen for 5–10 minutes. The worst decisions are always made in a rush. Third, body regulation. Your mind follows your body. A few slow, deep breaths literally calms down your nervous system and lets your rational brain come back online. Fourth, self-awareness. Instead of that self-blaming question, why did I do that? Ask a more curious question. How am I experiencing this feeling right now? This creates distance. And finally, step 5, replacement. This is where you bring logic back in. Open up your trading plan, the one you made when you were calm and rational, and trust that system over the emotional chaos of the moment.
And all of this brings us to the ultimate truth of trading. Success in the long run, it's not about getting lucky or hitting some 100x meme coin. It is all about discipline and mindset. The survivors, the people who actually make it in this market, they all share these traits. They have a plan before they ever click buy. They manage their risk on every single trade. They don't bet the farm on one coin. They're focused on their long-term strategy, not the short-term hype. And they never ever stop learning. So when you look at this entire landscape of crypto, all the chaos, all the volatility, what is the one thing that truly separates those who thrive from those who get completely wiped out? It's not some secret indicator. It's not insider knowledge. It's the ability to master your own mind. Because at the end of the day, in this market, survival isn't luck. It's psychology.